Alright, in this video we're going to make a simple gathered skirt. And so just so I can explain the measurements that you'll need, I've drawn a picture of a person. So we've got our waist, which is roughly about our belly button, or the smallest part of our torso. So usually where you put your hands on your hips, oh not your hips, like when you put your hands on your waist, and it goes to the smallest part. Then we've got our hip, which is the widest part of our bottom, so usually at kind of crotch line, measuring around there. That's your hip. And then we've got our length. So our length is really dependent on how long you want your skirt. For this video, we're going to work from the waist, being the place that you want to wear the skirt. If you want to wear your skirt on your hip, then that might change, but I'm going to work from the waist. And I'm going to make mine 50 centimeters from the waist down, which will be just above my knee. So that's 50 centimeters for that length. And I'm working in hypothetical measurements for my waist and hip, and I've chosen 69 centimeters, which I'm rounding up to 70, and 80 centimeters for the hip. But you can use your own measurements or the measurements of whoever you're making this for. Alright, so I hope that makes sense. So you need your waist measurement, hip measurement, and the length that you would like it. And so pretty much with those measurements, we are making a rectangle. So grab a ruler. If you've got a long one, brilliant. If you don't, that's completely okay. Alright, my paper's a little bit wonky, so I'm just going to be working right on the edge here. Hopefully that will give me enough space. Okay, so I'm going to rule in my length of my rectangle, which is 50 centimeters for the skirt that I've chosen. It might be more depending on how long you want your skirt or how short you want your skirt. So I've done my 50 centimeters across there. Can't see that, so I'm going to do it in marker. Hopefully that is a bit better. Yeah, you can see that now. Alright, and then coming at a right angle, because obviously we're making a rectangle, you're going to do half the measurement of your hip plus a little bit more. So my hip measurement that I've chosen is 80 centimeters, so half of that is 40. And then I want to add a little bit more because I want to give it a bit of room to move around the body. So I'm going to add, let's say 15 more centimeters, so making it 55 centimeters, which means the total circumference of my skirt is going to be 110, so 55 plus 55. So what we're doing here is one side of the skirt and then you cut another one and sew it together. So I've done my length 50 here, I've done my width, half width, 55 here, and I'm going to come back up and complete my rectangle. This is always the moment of truth, if it's exactly 55 or whatever length it is back across. Mine is. It's very nice. Just so you know that it's right angle, I'm putting those little squares here, and I'm going to write here length and half hip width, like that. Alright, now if you've watched any of the other videos or done any pattern making before, then you're going to need to add seam allowance. So we're not working in half scale, we're working in full scale. So we're going to add 1 centimeter to our sides. Hopefully you can see this pen. Yep, you can. Up to you what you want to do with the hem. I'm going to add 1 centimeter just because I can't fit 2 centimeters on this piece of paper. But Usually you would add 2 because you could do a double roll. And then I'm adding 1 centimeter here as well on this side, because this is the front, and we'll do the same for the back. Now at the top, so this is the top edge, it doesn't matter which one you choose because it's exactly the same, but once you've chosen which one's the top, then stick with it. And we're going to allow extra for an elastic casing. So this will depend on how wide your elastic is. I'm going to go with, I know this is a tape measure, but the width of the elastic being 1.5 centimeters. So I'm going to want to create a 2 centimeter elastic casing. So pretty much we've got to allow enough for a double roll and a bit more. So I'm going to add 5 centimeters up here. So we've got the 2 centimeters for the casing, 2 centimeters for it to fold over again, and then another 1 centimeter to make sure that we can get the seam. So the elastic is in addition because usually it sits up a bit higher on your body just to bring it in. And so what's going to happen is we're going to fold it over and then fold it over like that and stitch like this. So I've added 5 centimeters at the top to create my casing, and that is for between a 1.5 and 2 centimeter width elastic. If you've got a really wide elastic, then you'll need to adjust your measurement. So if you've got a 5 centimeter elastic, then you might do, instead of 2 centimeters here, you would do 5.5 centimeters and then another 5.5 here, plus the 1 centimeter that will make sure that everything is sewn in nicely. So that is your pattern. Hope that makes sense. So you've got your rectangle using the length that you want of your skirt, and then half of your hip width, because obviously you want it to get over your hips. The waist, unless you're wanting to taper it in, is really fine, or unless your waist is bigger than your hips, it'll come in to meet your waist. You're adding 1 centimeter all the way around the sides and the bottom, because or 2 centimeters for your bottom hem, because that's your seam allowance, and then you're adding your elastic casing depending on the width of your elastic. Now we're going to label our pattern. So this is gathered skirt, and this is skirt piece. And you're going to cut 2. So obviously you want 1 for the front and 1 for the back. And just make a note, made for waist size 69 centimeters and hip size 80 centimeters, just so you know what it's made for. You can even make a note as well of what size elastic that you've included in that. So I'm going to do 1.5 to 2 centimeters width elastic, and I'll also make a note that I've got 1 centimeter seam allowance, which is S/A, and 1 centimeter hem allowance. Just so you know how much to take off. Now all you have to do is cut that out or trace it off, depending how you want to work with it, and you can make it up. But that is how to make a simple gathered skirt to fit your own measurements.